delivered by President of the 69 International Student Conference. Her insight will set the tone for our engaging presentation ahead. So please welcome Maria.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 69th International Student Conference Final Term. My name is Maria Francisca, the president of the ISC69. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to all the sponsors for the financial and non-financial support, all the alumni, table members, committees, and participants who have made this conference a resounding success. Your passion, dedication, and intellectual curiosity have been the driving forces behind our shared accomplishments. In 2022, committee members started to work doing the discussion and preparing to make this conference happen. The International Student Conference started in 1954 and since then with 4 corporations in mind, paved the way to the world peace, embrace diversity, physical independence among students and contribute to society. Today marks our 69th annual conference, our first offline conference since 4 years ago, and we are proud to be able to host it today here at this wonderful place for all of you. This year, 69th International Student Conference theme is Be a Pioneer of the Next Generation, Access towards Diversity, Sustainability, and Respect. We aim to realize a society full of diversity by respecting each other's values across national borders and generations to create a society that is sustainable and respectful of each other. The future global society will be sustainable for everyone across diverse communities, and value and respect will allow each of us to recognize and get along with the difference we have. We have put our hearts and mind into this project. In order to achieve this goal, we have gathered students from around the world who will become pioneers who will create the next generation. We will strive to provide opportunities for students worldwide to learn from each other, improve themselves, and grow as individuals. We will strive to provide opportunities for students to learn from each other, to improve themselves, and grow as individuals. Over the past 10 days, we have witnessed discussion, insightful presentations, mentor sessions, and a vibrant exchange of ideas. Not only did we have discussion, but the participants enjoyed the cultural exchange sessions and a day-long study tour to several locations in the greater Tokyo area. As we stand on the threshold of the closing ceremony, let us reflect on our remarkable journey together. Today, as we delve into this final forum, we have the chance to crystallize the insight we have gained and the connection we have forged. The discussion will undoubtedly delve into the heart of the most pressing issues, promising innovation and inspiring vision for the future. This forum stands as a testament to our commitment to developing solutions, fostering understanding, and advancing the frontiers of knowledge. As we conclude this conference, let us not view it as an endpoint, but as a milestone in an ongoing journey. The ideas that have been sparked here will continue to ripple through time, inspiring future research, sparking new creativity, and shaping a better world for generations to come. So let us embark on this final forum with an eagerness to explore, a willingness to engage, and a commitment to the ideals of scholarship and progress. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey, and I'm excited to see the compelling final progress that will be unfolded by the 5 levels in the moments ahead. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Maria, for an insightful speech. And I also want to say hi and thank you for also joining us online today. So, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the next. Meanwhile, John and Hiro Ikurata, the Vice President of the 69 International Student Conference, will present our activity report. Thank you.
Hello, this is Minhwa John,
And I'm Hiro Yurata.
and we are the Vice President of the 69th International Student Conference. So, as President Maria shared in her speech, ISC69 commenced last year in October 2022 with a set of new committee members under the annual theme titled Be a Pioneer of the Next Generation, Action Towards Diversity, Sustainability, and Respect. Through this theme, we aim to learn and grow as the leaders of the next generation by becoming more aware of the social issues around us and practicing finding issues and the possible solutions to them. Based on our annual theme and goals, we decided on the following 5 table topics. Table 1, digital nationalism, decentralization of the internet, formation of the national digital ecosystems, cybersecurity in China. Table 2, gender and LGBTQ+, combating gender and sexuality-based discrimination. Table 3, mental health impact during the public health emergencies. Table 4, transition towards green economy, building resiliency through digital innovations. And Table 5, COVID-19 and income inequality, anticipating future trends of income disparity and its impact during another visible crisis. The progress and the outcomes of these study groups will be shared in the upcoming table presentation session. Next, we would like to introduce the overall ISC69 activities. As shown in the timeline, the ISC69 officially started the activities in May of this year through the Advanced Conference. During this two-day event, we were able to get to know each other for the first time, practice finding social issues, and discuss possible solutions by doing several academic activity exercises. This was the opportunity for the participants to feel what it's really like to be a participant of ISC. Then throughout June to early August, ISC69 continued online with 6 joint sessions and at least 5 table sessions. This was not only to prepare for the upcoming offline conference period in Japan, but also to gradually explore the world and find our potentials as the next leader of the world. For every joint session, we had various programs that aligned with our annual theme, such as cultural exchanging sessions to learn one another's culture, English academic writing sessions to get prepared for creating the final output, like policy proposals, and career advice session where we invited a guest speaker to share her own experience working at an international organization and how we can work in such a multicultural environment. We thank all those who kindly and willingly shared their experiences and advice with ISC69. Finally, starting from August 19th, ISC69 has been hosting the main conference offline, here at the Olympic Center. This is our first offline session in 4 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. For the past 1 week, we had intensive academic sessions where each table met at least twice a day to finalize their final outputs and prepare for the final forum presentation. We prepared ourselves for today by doing two sets of intensive rehearsals called interim report, to practice presentations and sharing feedback. Also, we were able to host 3 cultural exchange sessions to learn about Japanese and Indonesian culture, thanks to the organizations which include Tokyo Waso Kai, KU University Calligraphy Club, Kimono Rental Aki, and Indonesian organization Home. Today's event is officially the last day of the 69th International Student Conference. Through the final forum, we hope to deliver our findings and messages to the world for the slightest positive change.
In addition, we would like to thank all the sponsors.
We once again thank our supporters of ISC69 for providing the wonderful opportunity to this conference happen. We would also like to give special thanks to our supporters here. United Nations Development Program UNDP 国連開発計画様 United Nations Information Center UNIC 国連広報センター様 Ministry of Foreign Affairs モーファ外務省様 Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology MAX 文部科学省様 Ethical Job Hunting エシカル収穫様 Mr. 三郎滝沢三郎様 International Education Center Supporters 国際教育振興会参入会様三菱 UFJ ファンデーション三菱 UFJ 国際財団様双日ファンデーション双日国際交流財団様 Mr. 石田博様We have also received kind support from many donors through donations, including Mr. Kazuharu Takikawa, Mr. Keita Shizuka, Mr. Hideaki Nakajima, and Mr. Isamu Suzuki. We extend our deepest gratitude to all of you who have been a vital part of our activity this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Binwa and Yuisa, for an informative report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we will now move on to a special lecture. We are honored to announce the appearance of Mr. Ichiro Fujisaki. The current president of the American-Japan Society of Japan. He had been a Japanese diplomat who served as ambassador to the United States from 2008 to 2012. Before that, he was ambassador to the United Nations and to the World Trade Organization in Geneva, serving as the chairman of the Executive Committee of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. His other Ministry of Foreign Affairs posts include terms as Deputy Director General for Asian Affairs, posts include terms as Deputy General for Asian Affairs, Political Minister in the Embassy of Japan in Washington, D.C., Director General for North American Affairs, before being appointed as the Deputy Foreign Minister. After his retirement, he served as a professor of Sophia University for 5 years. After that, he served as the president of Nakasone Peace Institute for 5 years until April 2023. He studied at Keio University, Brown University, and Stanford University Graduate School. Please welcome for Mr. Fujisaki.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. This is the first time that I got the invitation to ISC as a speaker. And so, very frankly, I didn't know how it goes. Maria Francisca has emailed me that please come on this day. And I emailed her back. This is rather hot. So can I go on t-shirt or polo shirt? And I almost can hear the scream from her saying, no. If you happen to have a dark suit, please wear it. So now I'm here like this. Maria, are you here? Oh, yeah. Weren't you surprised? I'll try to speak very candidly about how I'm thinking. And this is advice to you, young people. Maybe if you don't like it, I will never get an invitation back. Well, your theme, diversity, sustainability, respect, are very important. Of course, everyone knows it now. The common concept behind those is awareness. Also could be redressing. Previous generations have worked so hard to achieve where we are. However, this is done on sacrifice of a lot of other things. Sacrifice on the part of Earth. We have damaged Earth. Sacrifice on the part of women. Half of the population were not utilized. Sacrifice on the part of minorities. They are discriminated, and some racial issues as well. And sacrifice on many parts of developing countries. They were used, but kept undeveloped. So-called global south today. It's time to regress. It's a truth. I would like you to think about these issues, not only for this meeting, but for the coming years, all the way, to keep these in mind, that we cannot go on like this for sustainability. Because what's important is our two principles. Democracy and market economy would not be able to be sustained if we ask others to sacrifice themselves too much. This is the logic. Is there any questions here? If not, I'll continue. However, what I'm going to say here is, but please do not only indulge in studying these issues when you're in college. The reason is, I do not want you to remain as sort of a movement people, shouting from outside, hey, you should change it. You should be in the system itself and change from within. That's a lot more effective. However, in order to get into the system, you have to learn three things while you're in college, starting from college. One is the present world's framework. That is, in short, law and economy and finance. Those things are making the framework of this society. Global warming, gender, those issues are symptoms you have to follow, but you have to know the framework in order to be effective working in the system. Next thing is technology. We are now advancing every day. AI, the chat GPT and everything. Even I am reading book on chat GPT and things like that. You have to follow those technologies. Don't say that I'm on literature side, I'm not working on. You'll miss a great chance by that. Third thing is networking. You cannot do anything really effectively if you're just thinking and doing it alone. And one thing is that when you're a student, you can expand network more easily than when you're getting into society as a company member. If you go into a company, people will look at you as some company's person. If you're in college, you're neutral to that. And people will be a lot more lenient to you. For networking, what's important is the tool. That's English now. Try to really become at ease in English, writing, speaking. Of course, other languages may be important, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, but if you're not native, it'll be a lot of energy to become to a level where you can negotiate and make a contract. Rather than that, spend much more time on English and use networking, other language, third language, Chinese, Spanish, whatever, for just networking, expand friends. So different level is, I think, needed there. One warning I would like to give to you when you go into company, thinking of trying to change the system is that first, if you're going into company or government or whatever, you won't say that I want to change this company or government, so I'm coming in. No one will take you. So you have to pretend that you're an obedient person, good member of the society. However, problem can arise from there. What is that? That is, in short, you are wearing sheepskin to disguise yourself and not to show that you're really a wolf. So you have to look sort of soft, nice, kind. However, you have a burning desire to really continue to change. However, the problem arises because it's so comfortable to wear sheepskin. After many years, it really becomes part of you, and you become sheep yourself. You think, hey, I'm getting a lot of money from this company. Being promoted. Why do we need change? I'm going to be here. I've seen so many people like that who went to good university, wanted to change the society, but becoming so adapt to the society and lose all the fire. Now, so try to remember that, hey, once you have been a wolf. Lastly, I'd like to give you some practical, very practical advices when you're a student. One, maybe some of you are doing it. Keep diary. Make a record of what you did today, or if you have some new ideas, just jot it down. Next day, you'll forget it. So you have to write it down. Okay? Second thing, and one more thing. When you're keeping diary, don't put in some emotional things. Like if you had a fight with your friend, or if you had a quarrel with your mother, and so you are unhappy with her or him or whatever. After year or two, you look at it and want to put it in the trash. So just facts and ideas. This is very important. Second, the spirit that you keep is often people talk today about leadership. Everyone, try to be a leader. But we don't need 7 billion leaders. Some people could be a leader. Others maybe not need to be a leader. But here is important. Try to make a difference where you are. Something change, not for the sake of change, but try to make some changes to make, for example, this ISC more effective, more important. If you have some ideas, try to bring up those and try to make suggestions. That making difference. If you are not thinking about it, it's not worth being there. If you're just as all others, don't. Maybe this is not the right word. Blindly follow others. Lastly, the third point. So, last one is how to speak. Key is early and short. I often go to some meetings and senior people, young people, they often ask, please ask anyone has any questions or comments. Often young people do not raise hand. They don't want to be seen as rather impertinent and coming too much aggressive. So they'll be till the very end, and they'll let all others raise their hands. But many of those young people, when they start speaking, speak long, quote some people's or cite the articles you read in Foreign Affairs, or Kissinger said this, or whatever, if I may say, bullshit. Don't quote things. Try to express your own view. We seniors all know what's already written in newspapers, said on television. We are watching computers as well. Network. So try to focus on your own views and make it short. If you make your comment at early stage, maybe others will quote you. Hey, she said this, but I don't agree with it. And in the coffee break time, some people may come up to you and say, I agree with your comment. So try to make early and short. But maybe some of you start thinking that, hey, he said short, but he's speaking long, so I'll stop here. And if I'm getting Q&A questions, you don't have to concentrate on what I have spoken. You can speak on anything maybe I can't answer all the questions, but I'll try as much as possible. So, I'm in hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the generosity of Mr. Fujisaki, we are able to open the Q&A session. And for those who still have a question, please ask Mr. Fujisaki directly. We have 2 microphones available among you, and also we open it online. As you can see on the lower left on the screen, we will show you a QR code shortly. Okay, so please join at slide.com. As you can see, there is a QR code. Please scan and you can put your question over there. Is there any question here? All right. So please, you kindly stand up. Proceed to the microphone.
First of all, the presentation was amazing. Thank you for such a great presentation. I think it was one of the best presentations that I've watched. So you mentioned that people have like a sort of a will trying to make change, but slowly they start wearing their sheepskin and transform into one. So I have a question that, for example, I want to make change, and I'm working tirelessly to make change in the society. But I also want to have like a stable job and stable income to live that life and comfort. So how should both of them go hand in hand? Because most of the time they don't, and one side is heavier on the other, and that's why the wolves become the sheep, or the wolves are trying to make changes struggle.
My suggestion is very short. Try to be cheap during the week, and in the weekend, go back to your work self. When you have time, try to do what you really think. Don't be cheap all the way. If you come out, or if you having dinner lunch with your friend, don't speak only about your company or what you're doing in the company. Try to think something big, what you're discussing about.
What if the sheep are like tired of the weekends because they're working on weekdays? You said like you should like be almost on the weekend. What if like working throughout the week, the sheep are tired on the weekend?
I'm not following you.
Because you said like do something else on the weekends, right?
Yeah.
What if you're too tired to do so because jobs are tireless, never ending, overwork, which is a problem. Overtime, not getting paid enough, having several jobs, because you have to do like more. These days you have to have at least 2 sources of income to balance it.
Yeah, if you have to work 24/7, of course it's not too easy, but you have to try it. To be not the slave of your company, and try to think that you're doing this in order to keep your everyday life, but also you have some desire to contribute to the society, not only to the company, but by your individual self.
Thank you so much. I also have like a short question because you said like networking is very important. I truly believe that this network is network, right? And here I am at a conference. I can network with people who are like me, right? But if I want to network with you, I might feel intimidated. How should I approach someone?
If you want to meet me,
and like students, like I can easily network with students.
One suggestion I have is that now you'll be going to many meetings, receptions, parties. Try not to meet what doesn't people there. Try to meet one person or 2 persons in that meeting and spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and to say, hey, why don't we have lunch for the exchange email? And really ask him or her. That's the quickest way. Often in Japan, we give our cards too much, and no one just, oh, who's this? Don't do that. Try to keep to 1 or 2 persons who you think are. I'm going to give my email to you. So please, if you have any questions, ask me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Actually, we have some upcoming question online. Let me read one of that. Okay, how should we include people who wanted to join but doesn't have the financial capabilities to attend a conference, just like ISC, to network with other people? We have 3 questions. And then, would you like to answer all or one by one?
I'm sorry. You have that. Well, these are similar questions in a way. I think, as for the first one, I did not know because I do not know how to come to ISCC registry, but I think there are many meetings where you would not really be required to pay too much money, or you can go and meet people on campus, and so it's not only limited to ISC, but there are occasions. Second question about this information thing. I don't think there's any way to protect young people. The young people have to look at it and decide, hey, this is Snell's. You have to understand yourself. And it's very difficult because so sometimes you can be faked, but don't rely on any technology that you can be protected. I think you use your sixth sense or common sense and try to be little prudent. Third, I think, of course, it's not easy to just communicate with other people, and maybe you think you'll be neglected. I'm too shy, but more often than not, the most repentance, regret you have is, why didn't I do that? I could have done that, and we could have made friends, or maybe I could have expressed my views, but I didn't. And you always think, hey, I missed the chance. That's, I think, bigger than making some trial and being laughed or neglected. Then you'll forget about it. But you'll always remember things that you didn't. I do too. I still remember things that I thought I'd try, but I didn't. I was too shy. So you don't think that I was shy, but I was shy. And so I think that please think that a lot of chances are there when you are young. Thank you very much. And if you have further questions, oh, please. If I don't want to change the time schedule, so I can answer in very last as well.
I will ask the time. You probably still have the time. Okay, we still have one last question. Sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Oziloso. I'm from Burkina Faso. One of the countries that is most affected by terrorism in the world now. My question was, how do I make my stay in Japan be a response to this phenomenon going on in my country? How can I contribute right now instead of waiting to finish, going back into my country before starting to take action? Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, have you discussed your situation with the immigration office or the university?
Not yet. I haven't done that.
I have no, I'm not in a position to honestly give you an authoritative answer on such an important issue. I think if I were you, I would first go to your university's admission office and discuss with them if you should go to the immigration office and then I think maybe that passes to the immigration office. I think you should first discuss with your university. It's very important issue, so I think you should do it.
as a student, what can I do for this situation? Being far away from my country, how can I contribute?
To the peace?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. Concentrate on yourself first. And of course, peace is important. But if I were you, I would try to complete your study so that you could be accepted in your country or international organizations or elsewhere, that you have background person, rather than someone who's thinking of contributing but who doesn't have background. This is a very simple but very frank answer.
Thank you very much.
We still have one
Yes.
last question here. We have one. Okay. You choose.
Two people are raising hands. If the
Can you answer?
why don't two people ask questions in a row and I answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please. Okay. Two questions, please. One.
Please go.
Please. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. As a former diplomat, probably policy how much, but it's the policy. As students, I find there's still to get our policies, see by our voice.
It is it's similar to what I had just answered. The gentleman from Burkina Faso. It may not be very, maybe it's not effective to contribute to peace in this country from here. You may not be able to contribute that much now, but if you study and make yourself someone who can make a difference, who can change, contribute, I think that is important. For the moment, it's important to discuss issues, but spend 90% of the time on your own study. This is my suggestion.
Thank you for the amazing talk. And I sometimes propose to change to a company or where I am working, and because I think they need change. But sometimes I'm criticized that I think from my perspective, and because I don't have a business perspective or other things. So how can I, what should I do when I propose to change to a company while including my thoughts and including their thoughts?
I think you're already working in a company. And,
Yes.
and company and you want to sometimes make change and within the company or outside of the company? Within the company.
Within the service.
My thinking is that you would discuss with your comrades or the people surrounding your its superior or your colleagues and discuss it. That should this be like this? How do you think? And if it doesn't work, you should wait. Don't go to company president and say, "Or write a letter." Then I'm sure she or he will your boss and say, "Hey, I got a letter for this stuff. Is this okay? No, I don't think I would have to try to discuss with some others and change things gradually rather than just trying to do things. This is maybe too practical, but once you're in the sheep area of the zoo, don't try to be a type or to do a step. I think, but don't forget that you have this desire to change and try to memorize it, think over how you could do it, and discuss with your colleagues. Thank you very much.
Hello again, I'm Kiori
Oh, sorry, please.
So as a vice president, I think I attempted to make a difference, change the system of giving. However, I failed. Why is that? Because I can't express my opinion so straightforward. I always do the deep around fashion where I always feel really great fear of speaking something in front of many people. So I believe that was because of nationality. Like Japanese people dislike and avoid straightforward way of expression. However, also participants, ISC69 said like you shouldn't attribute it to your nationality. It depends on one's characteristics. So that changed my mind 180 degrees. Now I'd love to overcome my fearness and characteristics before changing something. So what kind of mindset is necessary and how can I overcome this fearness? How can I be like more like expressive person? This is my question.
One advice I have to many students is that no stereotyping. Or categorization. A lot of Japanese, as you say that, hey, we are shy people, we don't make jokes, we don't make speeches, whatever. But that's not true. We have manzai, we have rakugo, and all those jokes, traditional ones too, and we like laughs. For example, some people would say Americans, they are so open and say hi, but there are a lot of introvert people too. They say Swiss people are very square, but very gallant, nice Swiss people too. There, I know a lot of them. And French, chic? No, they're French who's doesn't care anything about their clothes and is not a gourmet at all. There are a lot of different people, and so what's important is try to see people as individuals and not as a categorization. And I think, as I said, what's important is if you come to these things, try to make 1 or 2 good friends. Don't try to make 15 friends. I don't think that'll continue. I've been in United States university 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. But still, my friendship with some of the Americans and French continue because it's only limited to 1 or 2, 3. If I had 15, it would not have continued. So try to make someone who really can. And I have relations with some of my grammar school and my junior high school's friends. Not a huge number, but I meet. You may be surprised that I left my junior high school more than 60 years ago, but I meet some of them twice a month. Junior high school, at least once a month. And these continue. So try to make a good friend who you can, and don't think that, hey, I can't do this and that. For example, you're not introvert at all. You speak very good English, you speak, and you can communicate with others. So that's my advice.
Thank you for your kind word. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I think for Mr. Fujisaki. Thank you very much.
I'll be here whole afternoon to listen to you, and so in the very final comment, if you have any, you can ask questions as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I feel we can have one online question, but please hold on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we will move to the table presentations. So each table has 15 minutes to give their presentations. And each presentation is followed by a 10 minutes Q&A session. We will also have a 10 minutes break after the presentation from table 3. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, some question or input, we would like to remain. As you can see from the screen, there is a QR code. You may scan the QR code and you may put your question on it. We will give the first table, table 1, 5 minutes to prepare their presentation.
So, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, rather. I'm Akiko Igurui, and I am the table chief of Table 1. And ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to introduce to you the beautiful and intelligent members of Digital Nationalism Table 1. A round of applause, please. So today I stand before you with a heart full of gratitude and admiration. The journey we've embarked upon these past 3 months, culminating in these intense 9 days, has been nothing short of extraordinary. I want to extend firstly my heartfelt thanks to each one of you for your brilliant, hard work and relentless passion that you've poured into our table discussions. A special appreciation as well to my sub-table chiefs, Wakana and Evan, for their exceptional support and tireless assistance to make our table discussion seamless. And lastly, of course, I would like to thank our table mentor, Professor Thomas Shallow, for really giving us insightful ideas and really shaping us into understanding more of digital nationalism. And lastly, what we have here are not just students, but visionary minds that want to make a significant impact. The dedication of these ladies before me have shown or have spoken, or it speaks volumes about their readiness and dedication to drive meaningful change into the world. So as we stand into the precipice of our presentation, I invite all of you to relax and enjoy and watch as Digital Nationalism Table 1 unfolds its thought-provoking insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Ichiro, for your lovely speech. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. We are Table 1 and we'll be presenting our policy proposal on digital nationalism. So this is the QR code for our policy proposal. If anybody would be interested to read it in full, we'd be very grateful if you could. And well, everyone, if you would like to scan the QR code, we would just like to introduce ourselves. So you can see on the screen, lovely table chief and our lovely sub-table chiefs, Akiko, Evan, and Wakana. And I am one of the participants. I am Anno. I have studied in Japan and the UK.
And Haruka, and I'm studying in Japan and Taiwan.
I'm Lana. I study in Japan and Singapore.
And my name is Aisha Sabina. I'm Indonesian and currently studying in Hokkaido University,
together.
So this is our agenda for today. Just to give a brief run through, we will run you through the fundamentals of digital nationalism and our policy paper, followed by the problems and solutions that we will be presenting.
So I will start this presentation with one question. What is actually digital nationalism? If you see this world, there is a digital ecosystem. Generally, there is US-based company that run a digital ecosystem, which is manifest in Google, for example, and Facebook. And also, there is globalized version of the global ecosystem, which is, for example, google.com.tv or .uk that representing and giving perspective of each country. However, there's also a difference in China-based company. They just run the companies worldwide. However, they also upload the US-based ecosystem. They have, for example, Baidu and Weibo for the podcast stations. And if we see from each word, there's nationalism and digital. Nationalism simply means sense of belonging in each nation, while digital means technology that creates the data. And we made the meanings of the digital nationalism as the algorithm that produce and forces the nationalistic point of view.
So in looking at digital nationalism, we have chosen to look into the policies of the EU regarding cybersecurity and other elements of digital nationalism. So you can see here, this is one of the major, if not the main, organization responsible for cybersecurity in the EU, the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, which we will be referring to as ENISA for this presentation. So ENISA is in charge of the economic, the political, and individual levels of digital security. And it aims for a high common level of cybersecurity across Europe, using the term digital sovereignty to emphasize how they would like to protect and make a secure environment for people in the EU with the increasing data and information. So in looking at the policies of the EU, we have chosen 4 policies to focus on. Our reasons for choosing these 4 policies are because they are major ones to the EU and also because they are highly relevant to our policy proposal. The first one is General Data Protection Regulation, also called GDPR. So the GDPR, it focuses on personal data security and also on a larger scale. So organizations' data security across the international world. It also emphasizes the right to be forgotten. So the right to be forgotten basically means that individuals can ask organizations or companies for their personal data to be deleted. The second one is the EU Code of Practice on Disinformation, otherwise known as the Code. So for the Code, it deals with disinformation. Disinformation, in more familiar terms, is fake news, propaganda, any type of information that is used or misused to force an opinion or view on someone, for example. The third policy that we have focused on is the European Data Act, also known simply as the Data Act. So the Data Act focuses on the economic side of the regulations, and it focuses on the availability of data, both for individuals and for companies and organizations. The fourth and last one is one that is still in progress, but it is very much relevant. It is the Artificial Intelligence Act, which we have also called the AI Act. So for the AI Act, it talks about the security and openness of AI and the usage of it, and also categorizes AI into 4 different levels based on risk, giving regulations for each level of risk. The EU is one of the leading organizations in cybersecurity and digital security, and many countries actually take a reference or even look up to it as a role model of sorts. So why have we chosen this set of policies and this organization in looking at digital nationalism? Well, we would like to reinforce the existing policies We are not aiming to make new policies, we are not aiming to make a new set of commitments for the EU. Rather, we would like to identify and address the problems that still exist, and also give the sections that need further attention, the attention that they deserve, and suggest some improvements.
Now, this is a solution and the programs first. And the first one is the more general one. And the data applications first to the light of the fight for the privacy. And as the Mr. Ichiro Fujisaki mentioned in the fifth speech, and we cannot ignore the influence of the AI and technology. And the society is becoming more data-driven. That means in many aspects from our lives, such as productivity, behavior, and preference are turned into the data using automatic methods. As you know, this kind of thing is a very beneficial and we can enjoy in a variety of services. But on the other hand, in the data of the citizen is now stored by private companies and in the government, and it can lead to link in the personal data and the violation of the right to privacy. And also in the dramatic developments in AI have further increased those kind of risks. The second problem is like in economic one. Who has responsibility to AI? And do you know in a clear answer to this? And as you know, that this is one of the big ongoing issues about AI. And generally, to make regulations, we need to clarify who has responsibility to this. However, in EU, there is strict regulation to AI, and there is a high possibility to be more strict regulation to AI. And also, in restriction data transfers outside EU exists. So, it can be in over-regulation and can be in productivity for tech companies. So, we have to protect the right for the privacy, making the safe environment for users by trying not to over-regulations. So, we propose the solutions, making the cybersecurity certification for the usage of the AI. As we mentioned before, NIST offers the cybersecurity certification to IoT, but it is not include AI. So the other proposal has been featured for two actors in the companies and the users. And from the perspective of the users can use the AI product safely, that we can make in a better and safer environment for the users. And also, from the perspective of the companies can get trust for the citizens and users and a high potential to increase users. So we propose these solutions. The next two is our program.
Moving on to the next problem is the spread of disinformation. Disinformation, including fake news and propaganda, has an influence on citizens' political views and societal views. One example is the UK during the Brexit process in 2016. What happened is that the UK Independent Party leader has spread disinformation on his social media. According to a report, 67% of British citizens were exposed to the misinformation, and 42% of them has believed it. From this case, it can be said that misinformation on the social media can strengthen the nationalistic view of EU citizens. So, against the misinformation, we would like to propose two solutions. First is the reinforcement of fact-checking on social media platforms. Currently, EU has the Code of Practice on Disinformation, which focuses on early discovery and removal of disinformation from social media platforms. In addition to this, we would like to suggest to add we propose to supplement this approach by implementing strategies to slow down the spread of disinformation through changes in the user experience on social media platforms.
One example is the community note on Twitter. Community note allows users to collaboratively share information on tweets. So by including multiple perspectives, the spread of misinformation can be slowed down. So we would like to ask you to strongly encourage major social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to add new features for the verification system. Our next proposal is the further investment in digital literacy education for the youth. The EU has already initiated efforts in digital literacy education through the Digital Education Action Plan. However, there's still a way to go to reach their goals. Disparities in digital literacy levels persist across EU member states. For example, Netherlands' digital literacy level is 79%, while Romania lags behind with 28%. Therefore, to address this disparity and improve the overall resistance against disinformation, there is a need to expand digital literacy education as one of the potential long-term solutions. So we have been talking about the problems and solutions regarding digital nationalism in the EU. These are the organizations we would like to propose our solutions to. The first is European Union, second is United Nations, and third is the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. This will be the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we open the floor for Q&A session. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Also, do we have any question from online?
While waiting for questions, I suggest that people could scan our proposed solution on slide 2, please. It's very good. Thank you. Slide 2. So if everyone could please scan our policy proposal, it is right here. It's written in detail. Thank you.
All right, so we have a question. Please, can you stand up?
Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. Two questions for you. First, considering that every company has its own challenges with digital literacy and levels of digitalization, what is the scope of replicating these policies outside of the EU?
So, EU is already proposed in a global discussion in all in other countries. So like in the EU in a proposal solution or a change solution, in other countries or the proposal financing, in our local journalists, in experts we discuss about that. So in the EU it doesn't have enforcement to other countries. However, in other countries have an incentive to change to those kind of problems that is imposed. In other countries have the same problems. So even if the EU doesn't enforcement, however, in other countries have the kind of possibility to follow or change to their policy based on the EU's policy.
Additionally, the EU has a lot of policies regarding digital stuff. Even if the EU asks major social media companies to make changes to their working policy, what is the benefit of companies to make it a little bit more for change? Wouldn't it just bring companies like Apple for charges, especially in France, but they don't. So companies will find use the markets.
To put it in very simple terms, I think companies will benefit from a lot of users. So they will be able to keep their users and possibly get more users on their platforms. My reasoning for this is would you want to use a platform that has the risk of giving away all your personal data? I don't think anyone really does, especially in this world where it's so interconnected and you don't know where exactly your data is going. So by implementing these policies, they would help. It's a very trial and error process, but it would help bring a higher level of protection and security for the users, so companies will be able to benefit from having a large user background.
Thank you for your question. Is there any question? We still have a question also from online. From the participant here. All right. Please can we proceed to the microphones?
Hello, I just want to ask a very simple question because, maybe people might not use to the word digital nationalism. So I just want to ask you, how would you define digital nationalism?
That is actually something we struggle with very greatly because it is not exactly the most widespread topic. That's why, could you show slide 4, I think it is? The next slide, sorry. So our teammate worked very hard to find the definition. But in my own words, if I may, so digital nationalism is often given a very negative connotation, like it's taking over the nation or it's over controlling the digital realm. But we wanted to take a bit more of a neutral approach and talk more about the digital security and how a nation would kind of rule its country in the digital realm, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for your explanation. Thank you for your questions. And next. Still waiting also from online, see here. You may also put your question online. Please scan the QR code on the screen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if there is no question, so thank you for table 1. May we have a round of applause. Thank you, and now we will move to table 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, shortly we will start table 2 presentation about gender and also LGBTQ+. Table 2 time shifts.
He's not only the wrong body, he's in the wrong job. A headline in an article covering the tragic suicide of a dance teacher. Imagine you gather the courage to tell your parents, Mom, Dad, I'm bisexual. And what is the response you hear? We're going to take you to the doctor tomorrow. Hey, do you see how gay he's acting? A simple remark from a friend who doesn't even realize the underlying subconscious discrimination. Can you notice what is wrong with him? Do you see that our minds have been polluted by discrimination, by misinformation, and also stereotypes? Media is a form of communication so strong that it has the power to change tides within minutes, and that too worldwide. Ads, TV shows, short films, you name it. There's really no place right now that won't have these. And so here we are, catered to the 69th International Student Conference, covering the topic of discrimination on the basis of sexuality, discrimination on the basis of sexuality and gender, specifically in the media. Today we'll be covering a little about the background, which will cover the major points about our topic. Following will be our problem statement, along with a few case studies to support that. Next, we have our solution, how we develop that, the impact that it has currently, and also that it should have in the future. Next, we move on to the goals of collaboration, and lastly, the conclusion. But before we dive into the intricacies of and details of our project, I'd firstly like to mention the current state of knowledge about the LGBTQ+ community. We have usually been told that there exists only two genders and two sexualities. However, that is not the case. There's a whole spectrum of them. That is why they're represented by a. So, just briefly, I'd like to mention what each of the letters in LGBTQIA+ actually represent. They represent lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, respectively. The plus in the end is there to include any individuality, gender, or sexuality that an individual would like to conform to or be identified with.
Okay, so now let's delve into the brief history and background that sets the stage for discussion. Our focus at the moment is Asia. In this region, talking about the LGBTQIA+ community is often considered a taboo. The community is tolerated but not fully accepted due to various societal reasons like stigma and stereotypes. You might have heard of the word underrepresentation. It is the lack of LGBTQIA+ representation. This community isn't shown enough in different areas of life. This absence of representation leaves gaps in our understanding of their experiences. Then comes misrepresentation, which is an inaccurate representation of the LGBTQIA+ community. Wrong portrayals can spread misunderstanding and stereotypes. Now the question arises, why we chose media? Remember, everything around us is influenced by media, which is our constant companion. It affects us whether we realize it or not. We are surrounded by media from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. The media is powerful. It shapes what we think and how we feel. If we show the LGBTQ community fairly and accurately, we can make a difference. So our problem statement is media is misrepresenting and underrepresenting the LGBTQIA+ community and spreading misinformation, adding to the already existing taboo in Asia. Our 2021 survey found that outside of the Pride Month, only 1% of ads included LGBT characters on the topic.
Next, I will cover audience target. As students, we wish to make that change that is in our hands. That is why we have focused our audience on the youth between the ages of 15 to 35 that will shape our future. Additionally, our main focus region will be the urban pockets of the countries that we represent, that is Japan, India, and the Philippines.
So, to give a clearer image of the problem at hand, we have here case studies showing the current LGBTQIA media in Asia. Let me start first with an actual exhibit of media underrepresentation. A study conducted last 2019 showed that in the northern part of the Philippines, the LGBTQIA community is underreported for that because, and I quote, there are only few episodic and they are only given limited space. So, researcher Castro Marcate even added that the actual LGBT news were tokenistic and that it was only used for entertainment and for attention-grabbing purposes only. Good thing this lack in representation can be offset by something like Joshiteki Seikatsu, or Life as a Girl, from Japan in 2018, which explores the difference of gender and sexuality. This is because the main character is a transgender woman, so that's her gender, but she is also a lesbian and attracted to girls, which makes that her sexuality. However, it would be helpful to note that mere presence in the media or the LGBT is not always accurate representation, hence media misrepresentation. For example, in Japan, it is a great achievement to have a gay character in Hanbun Aoi because it is a morning show, which is the most conservative viewing time here in Japan. However, a study by Talent in 2021 found out that it is only celebrating LGBT friendliness and it avoids substantive discussion about the LGBTQIA. In contrast, it is fortunate that we have proper representation in our midst with Margarita with the Straw in 2018, because the main character is a teenage bisexual who is dealing with cerebral palsy. This is good representation because it presents stories outside the gender and sexuality. Because in reality, the LGBTQIA is much more than just that.
We understand that data is important for every project. So for our solutions methodology, we conducted a survey. Thank you for everybody who participated in this and helped in the process. We got 101 responses, with India topping the charts, Philippines on the second, then followed by Japan, Vietnam, US, and others. And then you can see the age range, which is from 18 to 25 is the majority, which is the youth and the change makers. And we can see that they are at least aware of the existence of the community. Since our problem and solution was made on media and for media, we needed to access and understand the consumption of the media in our audiences. This chart represents just that, from advertisements, internet, and entertainment, newspapers, and magazines. Okay, so now we needed to understand how often are the characters of the community represented. As we can see, more than 60% said occasionally or rarely. Next, please. And the next one was how appropriately were they presented. Since my friend here mentioned that presence is not representation, we can see here more than 70% responses are maybe or no, which is really concerning. To understand why that's the case, we can see that rigid mindset and lack of information is the main cause. And also to understand how our solution would have an impact in the future and how it will be accepted by our audiences, we have this chart to represent that, with 69.3% saying that yes, it will make a change, and the other around 30% people saying maybe. We are pretty sure that with our work, we can turn that into a yes. And these were the other feedbacks from our respondees as well, suggesting what we can add and refine our solution into, which we took into consideration in our following slides.
So with the problem in media, we aim to address it also with media. So it is my honor to present to everyone in this room our solution, the Pride Days.
Our solution is a threefold approach that aims to foster the change in how the community is portrayed in media. Let's break it down step by step. Step 1 involves analysis of various media resources like movie, TV series, ads, and more. We closely examine how frequently they represent or include LGBTQ characters. Moving to the step 2, we assess how appropriately these characters are presented to the audience. Because it's just not about numbers, it's also about how appropriately and respectfully these characters are portrayed to the audience. In the step 3, we plan to reach out to the organizations and individuals, both online and offline, to collaborate with us for podcasts, media content reviews, and workshops for school, universities, non-profit, and other organizations.
We developed an Instagram page. We chose Instagram because
It regards the most rare homes. It can present both videos and photos. We are only having Instagram for social media now because we are a small team and we would like to focus on quality content based on quantity. In the future, we are looking to explore more social media platforms.
So coming to the second phase of our project, this is the official website of the Pride Place. This will act as our profile, this will incorporate everything that we stand for, and in the near future we'll be doing podcasts, content reviews, and even physical workshops. Everything will be up here, as you can see. And this can also act as a means of efficient communication with us in case there's a collaboration, messages, and other stuff. Now, just briefly mentioning how we developed our particular solution. Of course, there was a research phase, which was in June. We talked about different things that we could address, possibly mental health issues with the LGBTQ+ community, and also how they're not aware of their legal rights. However, we as students realized that this is not something that we can do right now or change. So maybe we thought about something that we can do, which is why we thought of analyzing the current media, the content that's already available. Then we thought of maybe, after analyzing it, we can provide scripts that can add inclusivity. However, that is also not very feasible according to the audience who filled out our forms. And so we listened to them and we changed our main area of interest to expanding our reach, which is basically right now reaching out to the audience, spreading information, and also collaborating with other individuals who have a larger audience to be.
So now let's move on to our goals. In the past 2 months, our focus has been on laying the groundwork. We have majorly conducted research work and defined our problem statement. This has led us to formulate a feasible solution for the challenges that we have discussed. Looking ahead to the next 6 months, as our midterm goal is to make our presence felt. We have created content for our current social media page and reaching out to the organizations and universities for collaboration, all while expanding our audience base. Our long-term vision for the next year is exciting. We are working towards a fully functional website that will include various features to post blogs and directly connect to the makers. We also plan to conduct workshops online as well as offline, interacting with the audience through physical events.
Now, we would like to mention the collaborations, and we are very happy to share that we were able to reach out to Voice of Japan, the Soka University branch, and we received positive feedback from them for collaboration. Next, we reached out to Mr. Bismarck Anza, who's currently an educator at Global Leadership Training Program for Sustainable Development. He has also given us a positive reply. Lastly, we reached a regional content creators in India, which is an Instagram page by the name of LGBT Marathi, reached out to us. So we are also planning to collaborate with them.
So with that, we end our presentation with the Filipino saying, "Malayo na pero malayo pa." When it comes to LGBTQ issues in media, that directly translates to we have gone far, but we still have a long way to go. So I am Bea.
I'm Vicky.
I'm Purva.
I'm Pranjal.
I'm Becky. We are the Pride Place, turning taboos into table talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and will do. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we open the Q&A session. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Also, we kindly again and again remind you about the QR code. You may scan the QR code, join@slido.com, and pick the question. Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you very much for your in-depth analysis presentation on how to improve the LGBTQ plus media representation. My question is, how can this initiative in increasing the correct representation of particular groups be applied to the other underrepresented or misrepresented communities? Thank you.
Do you want to answer or should I?
Thank you so much for your question. May I please ask you to specify which communities you're referring to?
I was referring to any kind of communities that you might be more interested in, but I can give you example like any racial or any social minorities of particular countries.
Okay. So actually we started with gender and sexuality, focusing on like SDG 5 and a bit of inequalities. So that was our main purpose, right? And stating your answer of like spreading into other minorities, we might or we might not, because that's not our focus for now. But gender and sexuality is our main focus, because you know, bringing change takes time, right? So we want to focus and achieve our goals, like long-term goals first, and also then slowly dive into and branch out to others, minorities, and include them within us. For example, there are minorities within minorities, right? So there can be a person who is in the community, LGBT community, but also also belong to another minority country, right? So we might include them too. So they would be represented, right? Do you want to?
I would also like to mention that gender is a very intersectional issue. That is an issue that is interrelated with all the other minorities that you have mentioned. So, as we have shared, we are very open to collaboration. So that is something that we can look forward to, especially even just for us, like internally, because we understand that we need to learn more. So we are excited to partner with a lot more in the future.
Just wanted to add a little bit to what was already said. We actually did consider this in the beginning. However, because this is such a big issue, which will branch out to various other things as well. For example, including racism into the LGBT community as well. But that would complicate the matter, and we right now, if we look at the complications, finding a solution will not be possible. So we will maybe look into that in the future as well. Thank you.
Yeah, we just want to take it step by step so that we actually make an impact. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, also for the answer. Actually, we have some questions, but maybe quite similar with the previous question. So, would you like to answer it generally? Because we have limited time. Yeah.
I'd like to take up the first question. It says, how do you ensure that you reach many people through your website? How effective is the solution? Thank you so much for the question. I understand that a website is restricted because you can only use it on mobile phone. However, there are options of reaching through social media, different pages that they have, which we will launch into. And there is an option where you can add your website feature there. So, and advertently, if you're looking at our social media, you might also see a link to our website, which is how we're planning to reach to a larger audience.
Just to add what Vedhi said, in the website, we are planning to add more advanced features as we move ahead. So wait for that. The next one is, can you tell our future plans or activities? How long the simple answer would be until we make an impact. But other than that, I would say like you saw our like short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, right? So we are going to move forward according to that. The first research part got like groundwork studies we did the last 2 months, and now slowly we're going to implement all of those things. We already have 3 collaborations in hand, and we want to go forward with that. So firstly, we will do like maybe start with online, then branch out to offline activities, hybrid activities, and similar to that. Do you want to add anything to that? No? Okay, I hope that answers the question. Anybody would ask that. If not, they can ask again.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. So I am just curious, sharing the internet will really attract a lot of views. And I wanted to know, what's your action plan in managing heated discussions in the comment sections, maybe even trolls, people who are not yet understanding your cause. So what's your plan for that?
Thank you. Sorry, would you like to hold on for a second and we move to the second question and then we can answer in general? Yes, please.
And my question is, how do you maintain financial visibility? And because we're a social media company, play
Martin's question first. So to address that, first, I understand that social media management is such a hard job, especially now that there are a lot of trolls online. But first, we, as a team, we can utilize the features that Facebook and Meta in general has, because we have Instagram. So first, we're going to utilize their fact-checking initiatives, their features that can restrict and can sorry, I can't find the word, but to filter what can be filtered. But of course, that wouldn't be possible without the human interaction. So we as a group will be continuously monitoring that also, so that it would be a safe space, a healthy space for everyone that would be interacting with our page.
Just to clarify your question, it was like about the finances, right? The whatever finances we gain, what are we going to use them? Is that right? Am I right?
Initially,
okay, sure, thank you. So as we mentioned, we have few collaborators, and we did have a talk to them about the funding. So we are focusing on organization who funds these type of our startup, right? So first is our own mentors company, which is the Pride by Side, which is an Australian organization which helps in capacity building, fundraising for companies like us, like startups. So that's our first point, and we are in the process of getting the funding from there. And other than that, we are trying to have collaborations with universities, so that it's like a transactional, not monetary, but like transaction of information transaction. And if we gain any monetary support or anything, we would use that in our future activities, right? Because it takes a lot of monetary resources to conduct anything in a university level or even at a place like a public level, right? So we're gonna use in that. Does that answer your question? Thank you so much.
Additionally, I think you mentioned something about the website and how we manage that. So currently we're a very small team, however we do have 3 engineers. So we're the ones managing the website for now. And then maybe when we expand, we can have other people to help us.
Yeah, thank you. The question here is like, the question I saw was they do not affirm as like person of community, but they are an ally, right? If you're an ally, you can contribute to us. If you feel like if you're conducting any activity and you feel like you can contribute, we would be happy to have you as a volunteer, as a contributor, as anything that you want to. As a partner, we would love to have you on board.
Even just at the early stage, considering more about the community myself and why you can change, maybe when you're just having long conversations with your friends and you hear them say things that are not, so things that are not correct, maybe you can just, simply tell them that maybe you're not well informed. You can get information and maybe speak the right things, because communication is a way of how knowledge is spread. So if you correct them at that very moment, I think that will also lead to a very good change.
Exactly. Information doesn't need you to have to be in the community. We are all. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I have a simple question in how to lie and what is the best representatives. And for example, and I'm not sure in 2019 or 2020, and the movie The Frozen in a criticized, and I need a friend to Elsa online that. And some people criticize that is misrepresentative, but in some people think that that can be a trigger to discuss about LGBTQ and like that. So how to line, what is misrepresentative and what is good examples of LGBTQ.
I did not understand the example.
Just to clarify, you wanted to ask how we can identify what is misrepresentation and how can we see it as good or bad? Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
So first of all, I would like to mention that the field of LGBTQIA research in general is a fairly young field of research. So in a sense, we are learning together, if that makes sense. So with that, I can say that there will never be a perfect content that will perfectly represent, because again, the point of the community is that rather than being a spectrum, so there are already a lot of representations. But there will always be some points that would be problematic, like giving stigma. So those that are giving stigma to the LGBTQIA community. That's what we need to point out, and hopefully that can be progressively that can change over time.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for taking two. That was all the question and also Q&A session for today. Thank you very much for taking two. Next, we will move to the presentation from table 3. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We will start the presentation from table 3 about mental health impacting public health emergencies. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Allow me to introduce table 3. I'm Hiri Rata, serving as a sub-table chief of table 3. Joining me is
I'm Ivy Adamako, and I'm also a second sub-table chief of table 3, sir.
We're the table members, like Go.
Hi, Monaco.
Emmanuel Watanabe. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, great. As a collective, we will delve into our discoveries regarding the effect of public health emergencies on mental health. We invite you to sit back, relax, and relish our presentation, and feel free to engage with us by asking any questions you might have at the conclusion.
So hello once again. Basically, this is our agenda for today. First, dive into an introductory background to our topic. We'll move on to specific case studies that are related to Japan. We then discuss some problems that we identified in these case studies and the possible long-term effects that we think might occur if we don't address these problems in their immediate forms. Lastly, we'll be looking at possible solutions that we think can be applied in assisting the implementation of our proposed policy. So, as human beings, we tend to prioritize our health in all forms of circumstances. We make numerous forms of sacrifices, both for ourselves and for our loved ones, to ensure that we live longer and healthier lifestyles. However, until recently, there's been a greater focus on the concepts of physical health alone and overlooking the combined concepts of both our physical and mental health as interconnected pieces. What exactly is mental health, by the way? And so, according to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, work, and learn, and as well contribute to their communities. Looking at the importance of mental health and considering how it represents an integral part of our lives or our welfare as human beings, we believe that is a factor that should be even more stressed in events of crisis or public health emergencies. But what are public health emergencies as well? So a public health emergency is any form of extraordinary event that poses a health risk to us as individuals within a particular region or within the international community, specifically through the spread of the disease. Usually, public health emergencies require an internationally coordinated form of response to mitigate their effects. Throughout history, we've seen that numerous of various forms of public health emergencies, such as wars, climate change, natural disasters, and pandemics, like the recent COVID-19, has really revealed the kinds of loopholes that exist in our various management systems, specifically in our global health systems. We see that in revealing these kinds of loopholes or gaps, there have been deepening disparities, which basically both economic disparities and unequal access to opportunities
between various groups of people within our communities, and this has led to invisibilized or concealed forms of mental health concerns, especially amongst the youth and marginalized groups, basically due to stigma and awareness gaps. So with these and listed factors, what important are we trying to address here at the table? As a collective, we believe that mental health should be given equal priority as physical health, especially in times of public health emergencies. And by that, we feel or we think that there is a lack of effective response to mental health concerns during public health emergencies, especially due to the socioeconomic and political factors among the youth and marginalized groups. By our proposal or research during the ISC69, we aim to answer the question of how mental health can be given equal priority to physical health during public health emergencies, despite the cultural and socio-economic factors, particularly among the youth and marginalized or vulnerable communities.
Okay, so now I'd like to talk about the case studies. We would like to talk about the two public health emergency situations which happened in Japan. First is about the Great East Japan earthquake, and the second one is about the COVID-19. So for the Great East Japan earthquake, we have an example from the Sugahama town, which is located in Miyagi Prefecture. Tohoku University has conducted 10 years of examination of surveys and outreach activities. Every year, they gather the information from the survey and they gave the feedback to try to make improvements for the next year and in the mental health field. Thanks to this kind of survey, we can see that citizens' mental health survey situation very visually. For the post-traumatic situation, stress reaction, the percentages are decreasing each year. And for the next slide, the percentages of people who have psychological distress, the environmental and isolation seem to have a certain relativity. The surrounding situations of affected people have constantly changed throughout the decades in various aspects. Many other participants, due to the environmental changes and the gap between the temporary housing and their current living conditions, have been affected those kind of data. Because of these surveys, we can say that the constant mental health check has a certain power to support and understand about what is happening in the disaster area. Next, I would like to talk about the COVID-19 situation. The depressive symptoms caused by the state of emergency, which is like a lockdown, has made the pressure and changes for the situation, and the suicide rate has been increased. The first increase in suicide rate in 11 years has been occurred in 2020. As we can see, during the public health emergency situation like Great East Japan earthquake and COVID-19, mental health is same as important as the physical health, and it should not be ignored. As a conclusion for these case studies, we can say that adoptable guidelines. As for the conclusion, we can say that adoptable guidelines for the mental health care during the public health emergency are definitely needed.
So I will talk about the problems. So based on the case studies, we analyzed the problems related to mental health in Japan from two socioeconomic and political perspectives. So one is the socioeconomic problem. It includes stigma-related and economic disparity problems. First, there is a low interest in mental health in Japan. 85% of people do not know any place to consult their mental health other than family. Also, most people are willing to pay less than 3,000 yen for treatment, while the actual price of the counseling is 10,000 yen, and there is a gap between the two. In addition, poor and LGBTQ people and immigrants tend to feel disconnected from society under higher stress. It is shocked that there are mental health in the emergency situation,
it has really deteriorated. They are the most vulnerable. Next is economic disparity. According to a survey conducted during the pandemic, the lowest income group, those earning less than 2 million yen per year, saw the greatest reduction in annual income. And it would be very financially burdensome for those people to receive weekly or monthly counseling for 10,000 yen. So next is related problems. The first is sparse resources provided by the government. According to the WHO survey, the budget spent on mental health is 6.2% of total healthcare spending in Japan, despite the fact that 20% of all patients have mental problems. Moreover, there is a few mental checkups as done for physical health. They are left to each university or company. This shows a situation where physical health takes precedence over mental health. The second is insurance system. There are stages to mental health issues. Typically, people experience mild stress, which accumulates into depression, and then progress into severe depression. So hospital treatment is important for diagnosed relatively severe depression and is covered by national insurance. However, it is important to prevent the progress of depression in the early stage. That is why we think counseling, which is provided by doctors or licensed therapists, is really important. But the counselings are usually not covered by insurance, and patients have to cover like about 10,000 yen for 1 hour.
Now I will talk about long-term effects of the problem. If we don't take measures to deal with public health emergencies, its impact lasts for one or more. In Japan, people still suffer with their mental health problems, even though it has been more than 10 years after the earthquake occurred. Here's the data, especially for those whose residencies were designated evacuation zones due to the earthquake and the following disaster in regional prefecture. This is the result of the surveys conducted by the prefecture in 2021, and the graph shows the transition of the proportion of people having mental health issues. As we can see, there is an improvement in the state of people's mental health compared to what it was right after the disaster. 6.1% of them have still shown anxiety or mood disorder, while the average of people without the experience of disaster was 3%. It is said that these symptoms were caused by the accident itself, as well as by the stress against the environment and the government's response after the accident. The situation of the people suffering with mental concerns implies that the burden of medical expenditure could increase in the future. Our greatest concern is the increase in the suicide rate. So the total number of the cases is decreasing year by year. Today we still have a few people who commit suicide relating to anybody in the earthquake in 2011. According to the research done by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, main motives behind these suicides are reported to be related to domestic issues, including financial burden and health issues. In addition to the impact on our health, mental health during public health emergencies affects the reduction of productivity. According to Japan Productivity Center, the enterprises reported the negative impact of the greatest Japan earthquake that concerns 5 main factors for the reduction in productivity, including overwork and stress for restoration work, direct damage of employees and their families, anxiety for radioactive materials, greater working hours and places, and continuous states of tension. To prevent all of these cognitive consequences, like suicide or reduction in productivity, a comprehensive administrative support is needed.
Thank you very much. We propose different solutions, tailored solutions that will be responding from the social, economic, and political aspect that enable people to get access to the mental health support system. We've been also classifying them into 3 main categories: public health emergencies, pre-public health emergencies, and also post-public health emergencies. We believe that having an effective pre-public health emergency policy to deal with mental health issues, will help us also having a very effective policy for dealing with it during public health emergencies. So for pre-public health emergencies, we have youth-led campaign, initiate company-based support and cultural sensitivity to address this stigma related to mental health. One of the most important things we think we should also do during pre-public health emergencies is to expand the mental health counseling facilities in order to reach also those rural areas, having much more practitioners, as well as integrating also minor mental health into the national health insurance coverage, collaborating with private sector as well in order to integrate mental health into the insurance packages. For the peri-public health emergency, we are advocating for mobilizing a lot of practitioners, mental health practitioners during public health emergencies, creating a mental health tracking system, which will be functionally based on a survey, where people will be called upon the result of a high score, which will show the likelihood of a mental health situation. Also, partnering with private sector in order to fill also the remaining gap with the natural human resource related to mental health. As part of post-public health emergencies, we are supporting to sustain the support by conducting assessment and also research in order to meet all the development of the situation of mental illness after a public health emergency.
Let me wrap up quickly. We acknowledge the fact that Japan has made efforts in tackling the issue of individualized mental health PhDs. However, from our studies, it appears efforts has been made may not be sufficient enough to combat existing problems. Therefore, by this presentation and proposal, we urge the government Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare to adopt flexible guidelines for mental health care in public health emergencies and to be proactive in conducting surveys essential to understand people's suffering in order to implement effective and appropriate measures. Thank you.
Again, we open the Q&A sessions. Please raise your hand. Also, we kindly remind you about the QR code.
Thank you for your presentation. I have one question about this. Even before COVID-19, young Japanese people were known as Chiniki, who was reluctant to avoid advance abroad. As you said earlier, you say that depression among young people has increased during the COVID-19 period, and I wonder if you think this worsens the tendency of Japanese to avoid overseas expansion.
So, can you please repeat the question?
Depression among young people has increased during the COVID-19, and I wonder if depression increase worsens the tendency of Japanese to avoid advance abroad. Basically, if the rate of depression in Japan is the one pushing people or Japanese youth to go abroad for study. If I don't know if I said it correctly, is that the question? Yes. Okay. It's a really difficult question to answer because we can't only base that upon mental health, but we can definitely consider it as being part of it. Some people will be traveling for the sake of having this international outlook. So they will go abroad for the education, for discovery. but we can also somehow put mental health into it, since the Japanese society regarding mental health is what it is. I don't know if someone want to add something on it.
So basically, understanding your question, you're asking if depression amongst Japanese youth is one of the reasons why they go to study abroad. I have not read anything on that yet, and one thing, I don't know any correlation between Japanese youth going out to study abroad and depression in Japan, so I cannot exactly foretell or give you feasible evidence to support that, but possibly there could be a link, possibly there couldn't. But one thing I would also like to note is Japan is pretty much a developed country, so I don't think people would want to leave. And it's a very traditional country, so I don't think people would want to leave their own country, leave the comfort of their homes to other countries just because they're depressed. I'm not really sure.
All right, we move to the next.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you so much for the presentation. Because the post-traumatic care grief counseling usually differs from adults and children. My question is, do you have any plans of solutions of extending the line of grief care for children as well? Because for adults it's easier to self-diagnose depression or needed children is much more difficult. In the society of children, you have to sort of time as well. So we have plans to extend the line of grief care post-traumatic care.
That's a really nice question. Thank you very much. I will go first from it saying that when adults related this state of mental health, this will definitely impact on this case. So addressing first adult mental health condition, we also start on there as a specific solution targeting them immediately from it. But we think maybe into the next policy we'll be working on, we can integrate specific action towards kids, for example, having mental health classes when they go to school, and also having mental health educational content when they're watching TV or surfing on the internet. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, actually, we have 3 questions from online. Would you like to answer it generally? Oh, we have 4. We have 1 more.
So I'd like to address the second question that says how we think mental health is often put second to physical health and how this can be solved. So basically that is the entire essence of our research or our proposal. We think that yes, mental health is not prioritized enough, and it should be at par with physical health, especially during public health emergencies. How it can be solved is what we elaborated in the last part of our slide in respect to the solutions that we gave. Those solutions we believe could assist in implementing the policy of prioritizing mental health as much as we do physical health. If you could go back to the last slide, the previous. So basically, these were some of the solutions that we came up with. We came up with intensive assessment and research where we believe the government should. We urge the government to sort of put in more funding into these aspects of mental health, just to understand the general state of mental health within Japan, so we can implement respective or appropriate solutions to the problems that are currently at hand. We look at sustained support where we believe community-led actions, that is picking individuals within our communities to influence the general public, is much more effective than assigning professionals who don't really understand the people to address their mental health issues. Yeah, and that answers your question.
Yes, but please hold on a second. We move to the online question, please.
Thank you for presentation, very interesting. And I have a idea. So the suicide rate in Japan is now very high. And the fact is that the number of deaths is higher than that of the Chino and the Japanese war that once took place. And I believe the cause is the peace that exists in Japan today. I think it is because people can live alone and think only of themselves. In other words, there is no cooperation. And what do you think about this idea?
Thank you very much. Definitely, people are trying by themselves to cope with their mental health situation. And this is the basis of our pre-emergency solution. We want to erase this stigma related to mental health. According to many research, people do not want to go seek for help just because of it. What the second approach we're thinking about is the community-based support. We'll be having youth in the community that will be talking about each other about the problem they are facing. And maybe from that, some other people will tell you. I think for this case specifically, we can't tell it within ourselves. It will be better for you or for us to seek for help somewhere else. And I think somehow this can help. I don't know if I want to add something or someone else.
Okay, so I do thank you very much for your question. There's one thing that I'd like to say. We specifically chose to focus on the youth, mainly considering the topic that you just brought up. We believe that the youth is an integral part of our communities, and it's really easy for them to influence the upcoming generations. One way that we thought that considering your question, one way that we believe could help is yeah. So basically, in terms of the suicide rate, from our research, we realized that it stemmed from a traditional Japanese ritual called the seppuku. I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but it's apparently something that has influenced the growing generations. And from our research, we learned that it's a way that they use to show vulnerability in their actions. We do understand there's some kind of individuality when it comes to that aspect. And so one way that we aim to bridge the gap of individualism in Japan is through these awareness campaigns. We believe that adopting specific methods that would help introduce the aspect of togetherness, especially amongst the people of Japan, would help in some of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for our question also answered. The next, please, and this will be the last question.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. So my question is just short. Given the high rate of mental health issues that you have presented in your presentation, do you guys think that the mental health crisis in itself is a public health emergency?
Okay, I will make it short and you will make it long. Definitely, if I had to respond to this question, I would say yes. Why? Because it's getting so much of attention internationally and internationally. But the thing is, we can't see it because, as you said, in all of our time, it's invisibilized. People do not like talking about it. Since you do not talk about it, we can't say it properly that it's in itself a public health emergency. But we definitely have to consider it that way in order to be able to address it properly.
Well, thank you. Actually, table 3, we have some online question, but we can also have question time. Please take note for all of the question, and maybe later if we have additional time, we can answer this question. All right. So thank you, table 3. We have a round of applause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll have a short break. We'll have a 10 minutes break. Please return to your seat. It's around 3 and 2 p.m. Thank you.
Oh, yes. I was actually just that. Yes. Small and very
Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue the event shortly, so you may proceed to your seat now. All right, I hope everyone has taken a seat and has settled down. Next, we will move to the presentation from table 4. Presentation from table 4 about transition towards green economy.
Good morning, everyone. We are from table 4 with the topic of transition into the green economy, building resilience through digital innovations. Before we start our presentation, I would like to give a little bit of a presentation for the table 4 members. The proposal that we are writing is not a complex topic. It's rather complex topic, but I am very grateful of the resilience and eagerness of our members that we have put to finish this policy proposal. And with that, as the chief of table 4, I am grateful to stand here for all of you to present the results of our long and hard discussions within the past week. And before we start our presentation, allow me to introduce our table members. My name is Astrid, and I'm the table chief of table 4.
Hello, my name is Sumiya Sawa. I'm a freshman from Sophia University.
Hello, I'm Sandy from Japan, and I'm learning about biology.
And hi, I'm Jaya. I am a fourth-year student from the Philippines. Okay, so welcome. But we move on and we'll be introducing you to the overview of our presentation. So the overview will start with the introduction of the green economy. We will also be discussing about the digital innovations that it has with it. And with that, we will be proceeding with the research questions. And moreover, we will be discussing about the country in focus, which is Qatar, and the country in mind, which is the United Arab Emirates. And lastly, we will be proceeding with our case study and our policy recommendations.
Okay, so I will explain the definition of green economy. So according to the United Nations of the Environmental Program, the concept of green economy is defined as an action that results in improved human well-being and social equity, while significantly reducing environmental risks and ecological scarcity. In other words, green economy aims for sustainable future while promoting economic activities. In the context of green economy, digital technology has been studied to be beneficial to achieve a greener economy. Some of which is the speed information process and to monitor and optimize energy usage and to stimulate certain real-life environmental conditions, which will specifically be beneficial for environmental policy making. We aim to explore the potential of incorporating digital technology into achieving a greener economy.
And now we will be presenting the research questions. For this policy proposal, we have identified two. So number one, it is what strategies and initiatives have Qatar developed over the recent years that support the transition to a green economy? How have they been providing the means for Qatar to support the transition? And our second research question is, to what extent did Qatar replicate the successes of Masdar City sustainable initiatives and digital integration, while also avoiding the failures to contribute effectively to its transition to a green economy?
Okay, so I will be discussing why we chose Qatar as our negative case study. So Qatar has hosted FIFA World Cup in 2022, and it gained worldwide attention for its overclaim of carbon neutrality. So now let us look at the data. So firstly, it has the highest CO2 emissions per capita, which is at 35.6 metric tons per person. Secondly, Qatar's air quality exceeds 8.5 times the limit of World Health Organization's annual air quality guidelines. Thirdly, Qatar has complete reliance on fossil fuels, accounting for 99% of all its energy sources. However, heavy reliance on fossil fuel is not only harmful for the environment, but it also puts Qatar's economy on a tight rope, considering that oil and gas prices are prone to fluctuate. Furthermore, Qatar ranks in 137th place in the Environment Performance Index. So despite the challenges faced by Qatar, we believe Qatar has high potential for overcoming these issues.
Despite the unsatisfactory status quo, Qatar has several commitments under its belt. I'll take 3 examples. Next slide. 3 examples. First is the Paris Agreement, where Qatar promised to reduce its carbon footprint by 25% by 2030. The government of Qatar decided to put the $270 million to achieve the carbon elimination. And second is the Qatar's National Vision to 2030. It highlights the importance of green economy and green climate change adaptation and environmental sustainability as areas of strategic importance. And thirdly, Qatar has also been actively involved in carbon offset projects, such as developing public transportation and green infrastructure, like green buildings. And it's in its early stage to generate renewable energy source like solar panels. Nonetheless, judging by the status quo, whether these commitments are making progress are still ambiguous. And we're going to And as the conclusion, we will be talking about the UAE. Green economy is usually associated with European countries. However, we chose not to compare Qatar with the European countries because there is a big difference in its economy or politics, climate, source of income, and so on. In the same index, EPI, the Qatar was in the 137th place. UAE was ranked 39th. It's the first greatest rank in the Greater Middle East, making it the most environmentally conscious country in the world. It was also the first country in the region to put the green economy in the development agenda. The UAE became the first country in the region to deploy green technology and similarly green projects as well. Additionally, in the context of technology and digital, UAE is also the regional key player. Not to mention, they have large standalone solar panel in the entire world, and even though the UAE has the long way to go, it is clear that they have great ambition in the transition towards green economy, and we strongly believe that Qatar can learn from the success and the setbacks that UAE as a country with a similar profile has faced.
Therefore, we are proposing a policy based on the experience of the master city in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. As for our reason of why we're choosing master city is because we believe that smart cities share many similar principles with green economy, which is the objectives of our policy paper. First of all, it offers a promising avenue for technological use, the integration of technological use with environmental awareness without sacrificing the economic growth. And moreover, smart cities can also be a stepping stone for the relevant states to be the blueprint just in case they are interested in expansion or commencement of new green areas. And also, the master city itself has shown many achievements. For example, the creation of new job opportunities in the city, especially in the sectors that are aligned with the city's objectives, and therefore contributing to economic growth. And even though the concept itself is not unheard of in Qatar, we believe that the existence itself is still not enough, and therefore opens the door for new opportunities in Qatar. A little bit of a brief introduction about Master City. It is a sustainable city that is aims for carbon neutrality in Abu Dhabi, in UAE, and so far it has attracted more than 100 companies to be hosted in the city, especially in the key sectors of renewable energy, sustainable mobility, and many others. And although it has shown many great performance, it also faces a challenge that is caused by among many others. It's because of the lack of access to city and also the lack of preparation of the UAE's government for natural extreme conditions such as sandstorms that can affect the productivity of the city.
Okay, so I will be discussing about Qatar's high potential of generating energy from renewable sources, such as solar energy and hydrogen energy. So firstly, Qatar has vast spaces as well as long daylight hours, which is ideal for building solar power plants. In fact, in 2022, a project called the Independent Power Producer developed the Al-Qasar solar power plant, which is the country's first large-scale solar power plant. Secondly, with the development of the Al-Qasar solar power plant, the plan of creating hydrogen energy is becoming feasible. From this potential onwards, we are going to propose our policies.
All right. Okay, I think
It's old slide.
It's our old slides, but if I may just tell you our policy proposals. So we have proposed actually 5 policy recommendations, and we call it the 5 I's. So number 1, we want to innovate sustainable cities, which is the highlight of our policy proposal.
Worldwide, it has gained a lot of attention that countries are building new capitals, new cities in order to rebuild its economy. And most of these smart cities are more focused on sustainability and green development. Number two, we would want to initiate sustainable expos. We are aware that Qatar has already initiated one in 2021. It was delayed because of the pandemic, but it was called the Dubai Expo 2020. So in this expo, they actually gathered all international experts and all domestic experts in the fields of sustainability, engineering, development, and they had a forum there. And with these expos that we want to sustain, we aim to actually gather all these experts to build a smart city for all. Number three, we would want to implement tax incentives for green tech companies. So in order for these green tech companies to be enticed to actually invest in smart cities that are going to be built in Qatar, we would want to approach the government of Qatar to build upon or to offer these green tech companies some incentives that they can use in terms of investing for smart cities. And I would like to share the last 2 points, but we are running out of time, so I would like to proceed with that.
And we are aiming to submit our policy proposal to mainly contact foundation, which is a standalone non-profit organization in Qatar that aims to advance the development of culture, science, and education in Qatar. Which there's also there is research and advocacy center for environmental causes that is Qatar-based and also a part of Qatar Foundation. And we will also try to submit it to multiple other regional and Qatar-based organizations.
So to conclude our presentation, we are aware that Qatar has been doing a lot of green developments in the past decades. Actually, they initiated one in 2008 when they launched Qatar National Vision 2030. But seeing the results, there is something to improve, and we want to collaborate with them. So thank you so much for listening.
So now we move to the Q&A sessions. You may ask some questions. Yes, please.
Thank you for your presentation. So I just want to ask, because you mentioned a lot of benefits of the green economy, but the green economy also has another side, which some people say that it does not take into account the human rights violation accompanied with environmental problems, and it also doesn't recognize the power structures that affect the environment. So I wanted to know, what is your criticism of the green economy, and how does your solutions address that? Does it help alleviate those criticisms? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. So it's not mentioned in the slides, but there's 5 policies of green economy, and each stages tries to involve like people, companies, institutions, in order to like slowly move ahead of making green economy a reality. And I'm sure there are like lot of rooms for improvements, but I think there are like people working towards achieving green economy, and we are like taking our initiatives to spread awareness. So I think it's going to improve in the future.
Okay, so apparently green economy is a very comprehensive topic, and somewhat young. So with what we know, I think that green economy, that everything has its good sides and bad sides, but when we weigh them, we actually based on the side. So we think that even though there are negative impacts somewhat, in terms of launching green developments, maybe people will be displaced from their homes if they build smart cities in certain lands or whatsoever. We think that with the positive developments or the progress that it can contribute to a community will help sustain it and will help achieve its goals.
Sorry, just to cut in. So what do you think should be done to reduce displaced people?
Sorry?
So what should be done to prevent those displacements?
Yeah, of course, we don't want that, but we always advocate for community-based orientations. We would like to talk to them. And I think everyone knows that. Everyone wants that. Everyone doesn't want anyone to be displaced. But just to clarify, I think that everything needs to be communicated in a way, and so there will be no misunderstandings in order to achieve a certain goal.
Is there any issue? Thank you for your question. Oh, yes.
I will ask just one question to you. UAE is introducing nuclear energy, nuclear power plant from Korea. Qatar has not done so, and they just sold. Is that because you think of nuclear waste issue and the contamination issue, or do you think there's some other area? Have you studied this nuclear energy issue now? Just a short question. Thank you very much. I don't know the answer.
I think this is one of the difficult questions, right?
Please forget about it.
I would like to clarify the question, but okay, let's forget about it. Okay, you want to answer? Go. Show us answer.
I just have a really simple answer. I think it's because Qatar is still on the way to develop its renewable energy. Even the solar panels, like the solar plants that Qatar is building was only built last year. So maybe it was on the line, but Qatar probably still has a long way to go until it wants to develop nuclear energy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we didn't have a research about the position for a nuclear power plant in Qatar. Sorry.
I would also like to add one point. So as I have explained, Qatar has conditions which is perfect for building a solar power plant, and it's only my assumption. But if there's going to be a nuclear power plant, I think Qatar has to consider the nuclear power waste and have multiple problems. And the Great East earthquake that happened in Japan, which caused catastrophe to our country, I think those issues are also issues have to be taken care of. So I think Qatar has to I think, as Astrid mentioned, I think Qatar is still doing research and trying to come up with solutions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your question. Online? Would you like to answer it generally or one by one? Because we still have around 3 minutes only, so maybe would you like to put a general answer?
Maybe just to for the first two questions. is green economy really talking about sustainable cities? Well, green economy is a very large topic. It's a very sophisticated topic, and it touches sustainable cities. So I think it's a yes or no question. And for the second one, you have posed an issue for Qatari, but do you think that the solutions for Qatari will also apply to other countries? If yes, where? In our presentation, we have mentioned why we specifically chose Qatar and UAE, and it's because of their similarities in terms of geography, politics, and political environment. So, with those in mind, we are actually focusing the policy proposal to be proposed in the Middle East region, because we see that there is a research saying that most countries in the Middle East region are at least green cities, and they have the highest carbon footprint per capita. So that's what this policy proposal wants to achieve and wants to actually address. And maybe if there are other countries for this policy proposal to be applied, well, maybe some other or future researchers or student researchers can tackle with that. So.
I would just like to add on to Jill's answers. So I personally think the solutions will also be applicable to other Gulf cooperation countries, since there are quite similar situations, and especially since they are also reliant on fossil fuels. So, and the technology advancements are not too far from each other. So maybe it can also be applicable to other Middle East countries, but of course with proper modification according to their situations. And the third question, how do we think we can convince these policymakers? As far as we know, Qatar is also trying to not be so much reliant on their fossil fuels, because it is a finite source, and it will run out somewhere, and it will affect their existence. And even so, right now, Qatar has been prone to economic crisis. So, personally, we will convince them by saying if they diversify their economy by doing this solution, it may help them to not be in a state of constant fluctuations.
And also just to add to that, we have found out that green economy actually diversifies the economy of a country. So if a country actually imposes green economy, it opens a lot of doors, and it could be in the sector of tourism, job employment, etc. So this will affect the economy of a country, but we aspire that the effects of it will be positive. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The sound of the presentation and also Q&A here for table 4. Thank you very much. Once again, a round of applause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will move to the presentation from table 5. Thank you for your patience. I think table 5 is ready. We will start the presentation from table 5 about COVID-19 and income inequality. Table 5, please.
Good afternoon. we the table are going to present about bridging the economic divide, proposing policies for the current economic conditions of Japan amidst COVID-19. But before going on to the presentation, allow us to introduce ourselves. So I'm Nelson Devoji.
I am Maria, Associate Chief.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ravi Sakoda. I am from Nepal.
I am Sanji.
I am Ryota.
So income inequality has long been a global issue, right? When the pandemic struck, the problem worsened, causing more than 100 million people to fall into poverty. Among the sectors severely impacted is the labor sector, where workers suffer the lack of safety nets and social protection. But income inequality is not a standalone issue. It is multidimensional. It is linked and perpetuated by other systemic inequalities. In terms of gender, women face more difficulty in securing jobs than men and are at a higher risk of entering the informal sector. When addressing wealth inequality, income disparity has resulted in poor living standards, minimal opportunities to save for the future, and a widening wealth gap.
Okay, I'm going to discuss about how racial inequality play in the bigger pictures of the income inequality. When times get hard, racial discrimination sadly goes on. Let's talk about the immigrants. They often lose their job or get minimum working hours at the time of pandemic. The question is why? Well, many of them were already in the minimum job with basic job security. This makes them more vulnerable to afford the basic needs at the time of the crisis. Even the government gives more priority to its citizens over the immigrants. Now, let's discuss about the inequality of the opportunity. If you are from the decent background, you have multiple options where to get education for your children, where to work, and where to get the medical care. But these options are very limited for the people from low-income backgrounds. And mostly the people from the low-income group work in the job that require the frontline work. And this highly affects the people from low-income group, and the gap between the rich and poor become more wider.
Our methodology. We analyzed the COVID-19 measures in Japan and their impact on people's income. In addition, we used case study and quantitative and qualitative method research method. Our case study. First, I will explain the situation in Japan. As the company's finances deteriorated, the companies began to fire non-regular workers who were relatively easy to fire. Nevertheless, Japan's lifetime employment system was preventing more people from being laid off. It is difficult for companies to lay off employees in a lifetime employment system. In addition, the government tried to improve the situation through deregulation.
Next, despite Japan's efforts, some sectors are struggling to sustain the long-term economic impact of the pandemic. In particular, small and medium-sized enterprises, which do not have a lot of capital, have suffered restructuring and worse overall bankruptcy. So we have created our own formula and other policies to reduce unemployment as much as possible, to create mechanisms to help and to overcome disparities as much as possible. We are now putting together this policy proposal.
First, we recommend the government to implement a minimum relief amount for MRA to assist businesses in maintaining their operations during the crisis. So this would involve them covering the minimum average salary for employees during periods when they are mandated to cease operations. So for example,
Suppose Shannon Sports Store stopped its operations for 2 weeks and they have 10 workers. We created a formula to help the government discern the amount of subsidy that they should give to the business. So we divided the average weekly profit of the company from the month before with the number of workers and multiplied it with the number of days that the business had to stop its operation. So with this formula that we made, the government has to give subsidy to this business with 154,000 yen. But note that this subsidy is not the end all be all. So this is just a recommendation for the government to be able to help businesses cover the salary of the workers during the times that they cannot operate their business.
The next policy is about to increase the minimum wage during the time of crisis to cover the inflation. If we look closely, we will see that the growth of minimum wage often doesn't match the rise in price. Proportionate increasing in the minimum wage is significantly low compared to the inflation rate. These differences make the most vulnerable sections of the society even more vulnerable during the crisis. The government should monitor and adjust the minimum wage rate based on the inflation rate. For example, in Japan, nominal wage increased by 1.9% in the last fiscal year, which was the fastest increasing in the last 3 decades. But inflation was almost double. Of course, this might not affect the people from higher and middle income class, but this will badly hit the people who work in minimum wage rate. And we have recommended government to use some fiscal and monetary tools to cover to maintain the inflation rate.
Make a standardized labor contract. Companies specify the contract the contents to protect workers in unstable position. For example, in Japan in the past, companies tried to fire non-regular workers when they were sick and unable to work. However, they guaranteed up to 30 days of recovery after enacting the dismissal restriction law.
Next, I explain subsidiary the cost of healthcare and education for women. The current situation is desirable and the time has come for men to work and women to stay home to education and take care of housework. In addition, economic conditions are such that people do not want to have children. Even if they do have children, the money situation makes it impossible to provide them with a good education. This is a very serious problem for the future. In order to improve the situation, we should support women in the same way as men and improve their education in order to stabilize the society.
So let me introduce our brainchild as a major policy that we've developed. It's called GUBS, the Guaranteed Employment Benefits, which is an insurance scheme that we propose the government imposes on private companies to assure that minimum unemployment benefits are assured to employees. So usually private companies tend to lay off employees with minimum or no unemployment benefits, making it stressful for the employees and creating unnecessary burden on the social welfare, which is already under immense pressure during health crisis. We also see that further forcing companies to lay off more employees as they cannot afford salaries anymore, which is actually detrimental for both employees and companies because there is no longer an economic benefit for the companies to retain employees, and that creates burden on the social welfare. This issue can be solved with simple insurance that we here recommend, where the company pays the premium for the employees and in return receives a tax benefit from the government. However, if insurance is the exact salary amount, the premium for the insurance would be too high, making it relatively ineffective as most employees and companies would like to opt out. Hence, to make it easier for employees and companies to join, it is essential to allow insurance companies to insure a minimum portion of the monthly salary during this unemployment period of 6 months to 1 year. This would allow insurance companies to keep the insurance rates less and allow more companies to participate more actively in this scheme. So, how do we do it? The monthly living expense plus the 3% inflation multiplied by the salary and divided by the salary So how do we come with this concept? The 3% inflation rate is actually the 2% idea plus 1, considering that there's going to be a crisis where the inflation would actually, at the minimum, would go up to 1%. Too difficult, right? Let me do the math. So first, let me explain you the benefits of what that does. So firstly, you see for companies no longer have the burden to dissolve the sets in order to pay off employee salaries and additional tax benefits to join the scheme, actually made it a lot more lucrative for insurance companies and even private companies to join in. For the government, we see that reduced burden on social welfare in the short term, as the government has no longer to utilize social welfare for cash handouts that was seen in many countries. We also see for employees, the fact that employees can avail benefits allows them to sustain a basic standard of living even during the pandemic. Let's see how the math works out here. So suppose my friend Sean actually got laid off after the store closed. We see that during the pandemic, his monthly expense was a total of $889, while his monthly salary was of $2,245. The company is required to provide him with a monthly allowance for a year totaling of $956,000. We see the formula where we add up his expenses with 3% of inflation multiplied by the salary, and then again divided by the salary, which gives us a clear amount of 42.6%. This 42.6% is the amount of salary that the insurance company needs to assure to make sure that my friend Chen doesn't die of poverty, because it's above the very monthly expense that he has shown so far. So the amount that he gets every month for the next 6 months to 1 year is going to be 956.6, which is quite lower than his salary, but at least not zero. So we need to consider that GOVS actually helps insurance companies to keep their premiums low so that as many possible people can join in, while it assures that people actually live above the minimum standards of living. Let me show you how the data sheet works out. So for the GOVS data sheet, we collected data for about 10 countries, which are both developing and developed. We used the data from different countries and their governmented sources to find out the average salaries and monthly expenses. And as you see, in each and every case, this formula is a success. As in each and every case, the insurance amount actually surpasses the estimated living expense, which is why you see everything in yellow shows that you will have a certain amount left even with your expenses. So we feel that our formula works in both developed and developing nations in almost each and every category. Now, let's continue. So as the world entered the post-pandemic era, the effect of COVID-19 still lingers in our society. The policies are just the first step towards aiming for a better world. Now, more than ever, there's a need for people to address the root cause of the issues and create efficient and pro-people policies that are equitable to all. And that's all from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, we open the floor for Q&A session. Yes, please.
Thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. Firstly, in the COVID-19 global pandemic, most of the people who had trouble was not regular employee and freelance, I think. And my parents, in fact, had a similar problem because they're freelance. And how this service or project can be adapted to this kind of people, and if yes, please tell me the way to have the insurance. And the second one is it was a bit confusing, and I don't understand well, so it can be the wrong question. But isn't it become easier for company to lay off the employee because they have paid insurance and their life no longer become that when they lay off?
Okay, I'll answer first. So for the first, but thank you for your questions, by the way. For the first question, Regarding for freelancers, because our solution is directed to the government, yes, freelancers are also involved in the scheme. And also we propose the standardized labor contract, which is actually something that needs to be applied to all kinds of workers. Because when you're not regularized, when you're freelance, you're not actually getting the same benefits as regular workers. So that is why we created these policies. And for the second one, the pandemic affects both businesses and the employees, right? But as innovators, as the youth, we wanted to help both of those sides. And that is why for businesses, even if they get to spend more on the insurance, they will get tax rebates from the government. So it's a win-win situation, and the government will be able to support both sides.
Allow me to add something to your second question. I think you mentioned that insurances would actually allow companies to fire people. That's kind of affecting companies because hiring employees in Japan is rather more expensive than firing them. So if the company doesn't have a necessity of firing people, Japanese labor law restricts them to fire them without the reason that is admissible. So we see if a company fires people, say a number of people for a reason, then they're probably facing more, spending more money on lawsuits than probably cover the cost of insurance, which is why the companies have an incentive, an inherent incentive to keep employees, even if they have the insurance.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. It was really insightful. However, we have some few questions. So first of all, your solution of providing subsidies is actually realistic, and I think it's feasible. So I commend you for that. However, I would like to ask you, considering the opportunity costs of providing subsidies, say for example, you can allot the budget for the subsidies instead of other, opportunity costs. Why focus on subsidies when there are a lot of other ways to solve income inequality?
So simply, but I think subsidies in times of crisis is probably one of the only ways the government can help and probably control efficiency. The opportunity cost that we talk about usually lead to economic expansion and probably the long-term goal of those companies. So unless and until we're talking about, say, 10 to 15 years of a targeted economic expansion in a certain sector, we feel that on maybe for a 14-day basis, it's better to have a subsidy than an economic growth and opportunity type. So that's why we went for subsidies instead of opportunity costs that essentially.
Thank you. I'm really satisfied with that answer. However, if you have a follow-up, that's okay. Subsidies do not always go to their designated beneficiaries. If so, how will you ensure transparency and avoid corruption and working to provide subsidies to private institutions?
Well, in this case, subsidies are directly given to businesses that supplement based on the profit they earn on the business expense. That means if a company needs more subsidies, they have to show more profit. The moment you show more profit as a business, you have to pay more taxes, which is why we feel it's rather counterproductive for companies or small businesses to show larger profits because they don't pay taxes, which is why we feel the policy itself is quite limited to just minimum profit basis. And if a company shows huge profits to give more subsidy, it's likely the government would say no because they already have that policies at stake. So I think it's
Just to add to that, sorry. So if you're talking about the implementation part, the government should also utilize their local units, right, to ensure that it's given out to their employees. And there should be also transparency reports that is different from the usual reports that businesses give. So it's kind of a collaboration with all the stakeholders and ensuring that the benefits are being given to employees in a humane way. So thank you for that question.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry, basically, there are two questions that are very similar to the one I quickly answered. I think the first and the fourth question about the budgeting and the rights for the money is quite relevant here. Just to clear this out, it's not a government-based insurance, it's insurance that private companies will offer, and private companies very much work with taking these services from other private companies. So for example, say there's a company, Tanaka Corporation, who would take insurance from say the AIG, that's one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. They will be paying for these services. So we feel the budget exists because you're already paying for the premiums. It's actually just how a normal insurance scheme works. have to create a new budget. Rather, we feel it's effective because the government doesn't have to use any of its spending both in the short and the long run by not using social welfare to give out cash handouts in times of crisis, but rather use it for medical equipment, like in case of COVID. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So I have two questions that I just ask you. So the first one is mentioned in the beginning, you mentioned you both have gender policy version of the legislation policy, etc. I think these are all very important points. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on how these different types of policy are affected directly or indirectly by the spread and after effects of COVID specifically. My second question was, I just wanted to ask you to clarify where exactly you would like to submit your findings and research and exactly what effects, positive and negative, it would have on further use.
Just to clarify your first question, you were asking how COVID contributed to these inequalities, right?
Yes, does it already exist without COVID? So I was just wondering.
Yeah, so because of COVID-19, all of these inequalities worsened. Of course, we are rooting into the fact that all of these inequalities are systemic, even way before the pandemic. But because the pandemic halted businesses, it also affected our healthcare, even our democracy. So all of these inequalities are interconnected with each other and they all worsen. But for the second question, let me share with you the institutions that we will be sending it to. So we're actually planning to send it to the Ministry of Finance in Japan, Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, METI, Oxfam, which is, as you know, is the anti-poverty organization worldwide, also giving it to World Vision, Concern Worldwide, GCAP, BRAC, and HOPE. So we are going to send them out not only just to governments, but also to anti-poverty organizations and NGOs so that we can get opportunities from the both sides to help out.
Let me quickly answer the latest question you got on how this policy can disappear from the competition. As less efficient firms may be saved from this policy too. How will you assess the work to provide subsidies? Well, we actually thought of this as a problem, which is why we're not fixing an amount of cash handouts, which was done in Japan during COVID when the Japanese government provided small businesses with 100,000 yen for every single day they were distributed. We actually work on the basis of average profits every week. That means if you are not working and shutting down your store, you probably have no costs to the business. That means you're not making profit. If you're not making profit, you're probably not going to pay taxes, which means the government doesn't have to provide subsidies. We feel it still innovates and probably promotes healthy competition in a way, but companies will still try to make profits even in times of crisis because we want to apply for better subsidies. And we feel it actually is more genuine and probably more equal in the sense that companies which have a substantial amount of profit will probably get a higher amount of subsidy because they work for it. Companies which just want subsidy will probably not get it because their profits are not that high.
Thank you. I'd like to address the question why this is the Japan. Actually, we have written our policy recommendation for Brazil as well in our paper. Actually, the Brazil represents all the developing economy, and you have asked about the how this there were many other countries who were heavily affected by the COVID-19. Yeah, the formula we have introduced in our paper works almost in all the countries that our friend already mentioned that we have made this on trial as well. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, previously to you, that we will have an additional time, and we come to overall Q&A session. With the generosity of Mr. Fujisaki, you will also be able to ask questions again to our special lecturer today. So if you have any question, please raise your hand. Yes, please.
Yes. It's my question for our colleague speaker. we highlighted that two key words in democracy and market economy. For some people argue that the consumerist economy system that what we call the market economy and the wrong is more responsible for the economic divided in the world. Then what the most of the contemporary economic issues are because of this economic divide. Do you have any opinion on this topic or on this argument?
Thank you very much. I said that the world today, our basic principle is market economy and democracy. Democracy, we, as you know, people's will have to be reflected in politics. Market economy, meaning that it's not planned economy. The market will decide. And market economy has market failure, as you may have learned already. That is that, for example, if you leave it to market totally, think of any sports, boxing, wrestling, smallest little different. There's weight range, and smaller guys and pretty big guys don't fight together. Here in the market economy, it does. So if you leave it totally to market's mechanism, then always big guys get more. And that has to be, of course, adjusted by, well, how is it? It's by regulation. For example, this is very difficult because this country, there was a lot of regulation. And turn of the century, because of globalism, we got away with regulations. And as a matter of fact, those who are getting more, bigger ones are getting more now. So there has to be a balance. But if we regulate everything, there'll be suffocation. So it has to be balanced. And of course, market economy has to be not just totally free, but there's a balance. I think you're suggesting that, and I think you're right. Thank you very much.
Thank you also for the answer. And next, actually previously there are some groups that has answered question. Would you like to answer now? Previously there are some online question. Is there anyone from 1 until 5? Table 1 until table 5. All right, so we have some question, some unanswered question. Yes, please.
Just to respond back to this question, because when you ask about what's the source of the products and how it is, I don't think it's actually needed separate product done by insurance companies. It's almost like unemployment benefits that we believe insurance companies have. So it's nothing new that we are recommending here. All that we're doing is probably asking for a new formula that can calculate the amount that is required to sustain these products, which is different because most insurance companies are probably not going to meet that standard, meaning people will even more than these times. That's why the 3% rule we calculate inflation is to add the 2% maybe inflation that every country gains to keep the economy stable, plus the 1%. Usually the inflation goes up 7%. It actually did at 7%. In total, we're still keeping it low just to give an idea of how much additional funding we require at those times. And for the second and third question, sorry, we were not able to consult any particular formula, but the design that's a consulting people like this. Thank you for the recommendation. And we got the next question is followed up.
Well, thank you very much for amazing answer. And we have next, it is, I think this one is related with mental health. Okay. Table 3. Would you like to answer this question?
Okay, so for the mental health, we believe that the current mental health have been improving. We haven't talked about the public health emergency situation for this our presentation, but as we did the perspective that we did for the case study, we certainly found out that after the consumerology aspect and also the radiation aspect, Japan has made a certain guideline for the physical health and mental health. So as long as we have a kind of guideline, we think that for the next emergency situation, we think that we can respond to the situation that is necessary to be some help. And for the COVID-19 situation, it was kind of a different style of the emergency situation from the natural disasters. So as long as we have, the government has learned from the new type of the emergency situation, we believe that there are certain improvements have been made in the current situation.
Well, thank you for the answer. And we have next question.
I feel that fewer and fewer young people in Japan are interested in social issues and work today. Actually, I would like to be a teacher in the future, but I don't get education should I be able to choose that they will be interested in social issues and anyone with
Is there anyone who would like to give opinion or suggestion? All right.
So first of all, I really like that question because it addresses students. And these students, we know that by being a part of this event, we know that they're already teaching. However, to answer your question, if you want to be a teacher in the future, I think that students today or students in the future could learn more of critical thinking. Yesterday, we actually had a chance to talk to our mentor. We actually had a chance to talk to our mentor, and he did mention about how, because we were talking about digital nationalism and what's fake news. But our conclusion to all of our presentations, or our conclusion to any of the issues that were tackled, social issues that were tackled, it is really about critical thinking that each and every person should possess. So I think an education about, or an education that encourages critical thinking and also being able to formulate how to avoid disinformation would be really helpful for children in the future. So critical thinking is a very essential skill for everyone, I think.
To add to that, if you want like specific suggestions, it actually starts about asking your students what they think about a certain issue. And it's simple, like asking them, what are you observing in your community that you want to change? Or what are people doing in your community that you like? So it starts with empathizing with them and knowing their thoughts about things.
And from there, you can go forward and move into the workplace. So it really starts with actually, even with building their friendship together. Because making a social movement, making changes actually requires you to build people, build connections with people. And one child, one student can become the Lord. So that's your two foundations. And three foundations: thinking, empathizing, and building. Really good question.
So I have to add on that because that's really good question. So I think in order for you to encourage your students to really open up, you must actually encourage them to step out of their comfort zones and to actually think outside the box. Because as a teacher, you have the responsibility to make them think and decide for themselves. So I think that in order for you to be an effective teacher, you need to encourage them to think properly, to actually explore outside of their comfort zones, and to actually reach the heights that they haven't reached before. So they give up.
Thank you very much. Before you go, I've been having an exchange program with Japanese students from a high school in a university. And they just brought programs or projects. They've been analyzing throughout the 6 past months. They find a solution to help the local community companies to solve a particular issue. When I wanted to understand how did that things come out, when did they start it, and how did they start it, they said their teachers suggested it. But before they even go into that, they had to read books about personal development. I don't know how I would call this project, but I call it community engagement. This is what you have to have maybe as a teacher. This science of community. What is the problem in the community, and what can they do at their young age to contribute to that? The time they come to realize this, to know that they have the capacity to make an impact, they will definitely be going into that. So you first, you have this, and you share it with them. Thank you.
To our other people's opinion, I have an opinion, and I are doing a teacher, online teacher for high school students, and she said yesterday that she had no opinion for the work or for the project, and yeah, she had no critical thinking, and I know that the world of students is so narrow, and it must be widened. So like you're taking part in this program, and you know well about the world, and you take part in many programs, right? So I want you to teach the experience of you to them, right? And let them know the wide world in this society. So I think this experience is very vulnerable for the students.
Thank you for contributing my question.
Thank you very much. I think the discussion was very good. Just do it like here, and you'll have a great class. I told you, speak short. Okay? Like that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we come to the end for Q&A session, for all Q&A sessions. Thank you very much for your high enthusiasm. Once again, please give a round of applause.
Next break and see.
So now we will move on to the closing remarks. Please welcome our President, Maria Francisca, again to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed participants, distinguished guests, good afternoon again. I am Maria Francisca. I would like to show my utmost gratitude to our participants, committee members, and everyone that I couldn't say one by one for making this final forum happen. Moreover, the success that we have achieved would have never been reached without our honorable guest speaker, Mr. Ichiro Fujisaki, nor our sponsor. I sincerely appreciate all the assistance, and I hope that our journey together does not end here. As we draw the curtains of this remarkable conference, I stand before you with a heart full of gratitude and inspiration. Over the course of this enlightening session, we have witnessed the power of collaboration and exchange innovative ideas and the magic that happens when passionate minds converge. Our journey through this conference has been nothing short of transformative. We explored the frontiers of knowledge, delved into the depth of creativity, and escaped the challenges that shape our world. The diversity of perspectives that have graced our discussion has reminded us that true progress is born from the willingness to embrace different viewpoints and engage in a meaningful dialogue. From the frequent debates to the quiet contemplation, each moment has contributed to our collective understanding. We have unearthed solutions that can pave the way for a brighter future. Whether it's in the realm of technology, social justice, sustainability, or beyond, the connection we have forged here, the friendship we have nurtured, and seeds of collaboration that will undoubtedly spur into remarkable endeavors. Let us not forget that this conference is but a stepping stone in the grand scheme of things. As we return to our respective domains, let us carry the flames of curiosity and innovation even here. Let us be the catalyst for a change, the champion of progress, and the advocates for a better world. The words of Mahatma Gandhi come to mind. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Each of us gathered here today is a part of that change, driven by a shared commitment to effect positive transformation. ISC is not just a place for discussion among students, but also a place for us as students to expand our connection, know each other's cultures, and create a lifetime friend relation, which is one of the most rewarding experiences in life. So, as we bid farewell to the 69 International Student Conference, let us do so with a sense of purpose and renewed vigor. Let us continue to ask the dual question, seek the bold answer, and push the boundaries of what we believe is possible. Our journey does not end here. It is merely taking its next exciting turn. ISC69 may end here, but our journey does not end here. It is start for all of us to make a change and hope for a better future. Thank you to everyone who has been involved in helping making this conference happen. I hope your support continuously even for the next year ISC70. So more students able to join the conference and have a chance to create one of the best memories in life. Thank you for being the heart and soul of this forum. Safe travels on your ongoing pursuits, and may the connection we have forged continues to flourish. Here's to a future filled with innovation, compassion, and positive change. Farewell until we meet again on the path of progress. Thank you.
Finally, we come to the end of the 69 International Student Conference Final Forum. Today, we will have a group photos, so please kindly proceed to the stage. First of all, we kindly invite our invited guests, our speaker, and also our invited guests. We will proceed to the stage, and we will take a picture together with all of the participants today.
So for the audience, if you don't mind, I want you to join our group pictures. And everyone come to the front, don't be shy.
Wait, there are some. Can you remove the participants?
Wait. Oh no, I can't do it. All right.
I don't have. Let's wait for someone.
Okay. Yeah, he said okay.
Can you please turn on your camera? Thank you for removing JL. Thank you, Isamo. And then remove the share screen. We need to remove the share screen. Remove the share.